And Tim, I'm watching Ripple's digital coin, that's XRP, and what you can see right now is that it has made a bit of a comeback in recent weeks as Ripple, the company, looks to expand its offerings. You look at XRP, it's actually back to the highest level since about mid-November. In early December, Ripple, the company, raised $500 million, attracting some big Wall Street investors, including Citadel and Fortress.
And that's exactly where I want to start, with Ripple President Monica Long. She joins us on Bloomberg Crypto this afternoon. Monica, Happy New Year. Good to see you. I just want to start with that $500 million share sale back in November at a $40 billion valuation. Give us an update in the couple of months since then. What have you done with the money so far?
Thank you so much for having me. Happy New Year. So yes, we were very pleased with the fundraise in Q4, and you'd also mentioned, 2025 was a big year for Ripple for both our organic growth and then also inorganic. So we had acquired 4 companies last year with the fundraise as well. We are now focused on integrating those businesses and continuing to grow.
I wanted to get some more color on the fundraising specifically because it included this one structure, certain protections, the right for those companies that you sold shares to sell shares back to Ripple at a guaranteed price and guaranteed return and preferential treatment should a major event like a bankruptcy or sale occur. Can you give us a little more context, a little more color on why you were willing to offer those terms?
So the overall structure for the fundraise is very, very positive, very favorable for Ripple. We were really pleased to welcome Fortress and Citadel onto our cap table, in addition to a number of other crypto native premier funds. And what they really saw was that our business is working. Our strategy of creating digital asset infrastructure for businesses and financial institutions alongside the inflection point that stablecoin payments hit last year was something that they wanted to be a part of. And as we point more toward applying these technologies to the world of capital markets, having investors like Citadel and Fortress and others are great strategic partners on that front.
Right, I hear the case for why they wanted to be part of the Ripple story, but I'm wondering in terms of the structure of the deal, offering those protections, was it necessary to get that deal done and to secure a big valuation?
To my knowledge, they were excited to be to be investors in Ripple, and we were very pleased with how the terms of the deal panned out.
Hey, Monica, one thing that's interesting about Ripple as a company is that much of the perceived value is tied up in XRP, the cryptocurrency that Ripple owns. Talk a little bit about diversification. You mentioned acquisition of late, but how are you diversifying moving forward?
So the whole strategy of our company is to create products. So the connective tissue that traditional finance needs to make blockchain and cryptocurrencies and stablecoins, all these tokenized assets, to make them actually useful and applicable in the real world. You need a host of different components, such as secure digital asset custody, compliant on and off ramps. I mean, a big part of our strategy has also been compliance first. So we've acquired a book of 70 plus licenses around the world to facilitate those flows for our customers. And so, bringing all of that together for our clients has been what we're focused on.
You said back in November, a couple months ago, that the company has, quote, no plan, no timeline for an IPO. Obviously, with these new investors and with existing investors, they're ultimately going to want to see a return on that investment. Can you give us an update on the IPO?
Currently, we still plan to remain private. Often the strategy driving an IPO is to get the access to the investors and the liquidity of the public markets. And between the strength of our balance sheet standalone, which is really what we've been able to leverage to make these acquisitions, alongside interest from strategics like Citadel and Fortress, we're in a really healthy position to continue to fund and invest in our company's growth without going public.
And part of that growth, of course, is tied to getting limited banking charters from the OCC, the Office of the Comptroller and Currency, you and other crypto companies, making what many would say is a first step towards integrating into the federal banking system. What specifically are your plans for a bank charter?
Yes. So with the passing of the Genius Act, which was monumental for the industry and for stablecoin adoption last year, not just in the U.S. but around the world, how we launched RLUSD, Ripple US Dollar, was under a New York DFS trust license. And so with the passing of the Genius Act, we also are, seeking the federal regulation through the OCC with this charter. And so our plans are really just to ensure that how we manage and implement our stablecoin RLUSD is to the highest regulatory standards.
Understood. Is there anything that we should expect this year in terms of new features or services now that you have been granted these limited banking charter?
At the moment, just continuing to grow RLUSD alongside our payments business, integrating these new acquisitions and making those all a success is what we have in mind. And we think the OCC charter has been really well received by our industry. We have been seeking that kind of level of regulation for a long time, and so this really legitimizes what we're doing.
So you mentioned some of those acquisitions. The company has been quite acquisitive. Where do you see M&A opportunities in 2026 and even beyond? What's exciting to you right now?
Yeah, so the thrust of our M&A strategy has been to accelerate the technology development of our digital asset infrastructure. So adding components like MPC custody through Palisade, as well as strengthening our stablecoin offering with Rail. That's kind of part one of our strategy. Part two has been acquiring complementary businesses that could be users of this infrastructure. So in the case of G Treasury, they serve 1,000 corporates. Using stablecoins as a new payment mechanism to make cross-border money transfer a lot more efficient has been on the minds of corporates. And so, we now are going to be plugging in those G Treasury customers to our infrastructure. And in the case of Ripple Prime, they serve hundreds of hedge funds, and we are kind of pushing further into that space of applying blockchain and stablecoins to make collateral mobility a lot more efficient.
What about acquiring an exchange? Because some of the biggest digital asset companies that many would argue are in your space, they actually have exchanges, like Binance, for example, Coinbase, for example. Would an exchange make sense?
Exchanges are definitely key partners of ours. Those are the primary centralized exchanges have been historically the primary venues of liquidity for crypto and digital assets. We are really excited about how decentralized exchanges have been kind of building momentum as new venues of liquidity, which that plays into one of the core strengths of the XRP Ledger technology we use. So they've been key partners to ours. We don't have plans to seek an acquisition in that realm, but I think another interesting kind of trend we're seeing in crypto is the verticalization of the technology stack. So you mentioned Coinbase. Coinbase has now developed its own layer one base or layer two, and we're seeing that kind of across the board with the main players in crypto seeking to kind of integrate the full stack from the blockchain to the stablecoin to custody technology, on and off ramps, et cetera.
All right, good stuff. Monica Long, really appreciate your joining us and hope to catch up with you again. Ripple President Monica Long there on Bloomberg Crypto.